Senator Murphy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good to see you, Mr. Secretary. First, let me note a emergency situation in Connecticut that you, I think, have already been briefed on this morning. There was a major tanker fire that erupted on Interstate 95 near exit 15, Fairfield Avenue overpass in Norwalk. No major injuries reported, but 95 right now is closed down and may be closed down for days, depending on how fast we are able to make that bridge structurally sound and understand the extent of the fuel leakage. Early estimates are that there are 8,500 gallons of fuel that have leaked from this tanker, and we've got to make sure that the surrounding communities and watershed are safe. And I know you've already put out a statement on this, but I just wanted to get your commitment that you'll be working all throughout the day personally and through your staff to make sure that we assess the damage, we get crews out there, and we get the highway and the overpass open as safe as it is possible for commuters and residents.
Absolutely. I spoke to Governor Lamont earlier this morning, and the Federal Highway Administrator is tracking this personally. We'll get PHMSA involved if appropriate, given any spillage that might be in play. And we'll do everything we can to help everybody get back to normal there. We know, and of course have been reminded through experience, just how important a smooth and normal ride on I-95 can be.
Yeah, good. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. Wanted to stay in that part of my state for a second. In Stamford, Connecticut, the average income is about $47,000 a year. Not enough, but you can find a way to get by. Just a couple miles up the road in Bridgeport, Connecticut, the average income is $29,000 a year, just simply not enough to get by in a state with a relatively high cost of living like Connecticut. There are a multiplicity of reasons for those differences, but the primary one is distance from New York City, which is the driving economic engine for Fairfield County. It is obviously so maddening that Bridgeport sits only 70 miles away from New York, but still requires an hour and 40-minute train ride to get into the city. There is no reason in 2024 that that should be the case. The great news is that through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, we are finally delivering some serious money to allow us to do the bridge repairs, track additions, and general upgrades to be able to get 140 down to maybe 125 in the next 10 years. But as you know, and Senator Coons has already asked you about Amtrak funding, once this big chunk of bipartisan infrastructure money runs out, we're going to be scrambling as a committee to fill in the gaps. And I guess it is concerning to me to continue to look at accounts like the Fed-State Partnership, like CRISI, that are continuing to be underfunded vis-a-vis where they were in 2022 or 2023. And I just want to make sure that we are working with you to make sure that those numbers get back up at the very least to their high water marks over the last 10 years and hopefully far beyond, so that we don't have this interruption in momentum for the projects that we're undergoing to try to help a community like Bridgeport once the bipartisan infrastructure dollars expire.
Thank you, and certainly agree people experience distance not in terms of miles, but in terms of minutes. And we know that we can do something about that by finally tackling the backlog in terms of the state of good repair and accelerating things on the Northeast Corridor. That's what we're going after with all of the improvements taking place funded by the federal-state partnership. And we think CRISI plays a role here, too. Of course, the $250 million requested here sits on top of the advance appropriation for a total of about $1.2 billion. But the Fiscal Responsibility Act, of course, has required us to make challenging choices in terms of making it all add up. As you can imagine, the only person more enthusiastic than I thought I would be the most enthusiastic about passenger rail is the president. And you can certainly count on this administration to be highly committed to improving travel times and reliability on the Northeast Corridor and any passenger rail corridor in the U.S.
Well, and listen, what we had hoped to see with this big commitment of federal dollars is that states would step up and make their own commitments. Connecticut has done that. The governor's Time for Connecticut plan is all about matching the federal investment with significant state investment to ultimately get a 25-minute change in travel time on the Metro North line from New Haven, to New York, which would continue to transform and grow New Haven, even more critical, as I mentioned, for even lower income communities like Bridgeport. So grateful for your recognition that we've got to have a plan to get these accounts back up to the proper levels so that we keep that really important momentum going. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.